upstairs and throwing grenades out through a big hole in the roof that there was. I think I probably had about 3 trips down to replenish and got up again, and they must have thrown one back up at me. I had a very brief recollection of a flash and a thundering noise, but I ended up at the bottom of the stairs. I didn't remember anything until the following morning at about 9 o'clock when I came to. And when I did, there were 2 men that were still there. They told me that there were 18 wounded that we had in the room at the back.
The rest of the Black Watch tried to escape in the middle of the night, but are captured by the Germans. In order to protect the wounded and save themselves from capture, the 3 men are forced to fight off continuous German attacks.
And we had all sorts of rifles and all sorts of ammunition and around us. We wanted to think that there were a lot more of us than just the 3 of us there. So we fired the Brennan single round. The other chap and I fired the rifles, and we just kept firing and off into the graveyard. They'd sneak up on us, and they'd throw grenades in. We had several grenades thrown in at us, but they didn't hold on to them too long after pulling the pin. They didn't realize that we could throw them back, so we were tossing them back at them. But this went on till, I guess, about 5 o'clock in the evening, and we got so fed up, and our rifles were starting to, that we were using. We were using our rifle. We were firing them so often that in order to get the bolt home, you'd almost have to pull it up and kick it open with your foot. The last time they came up and said, "You come on, Canadians, give up. You don't have to fight anymore. We'll look after you, and you'll be fine." And that was enough to get our dander up. So I took the Piat gun that was there. I don't know why we hadn't thought of it earlier, but we had ammunition, and I put one in, and the only thing we could do was just get around the corner and stand by the door, and I just came out and let it go. It went off with an awful bang, right about 15 feet from where I was standing. And we never heard another word out of them. That stopped everything.
Without food, ammunition, or water, Joe Nixon and the small band of Black Watch Highlanders hold out for 30 hours until finally rescued by a fighting patrol.
I feel coming through that awful experience was just a miracle. And naturally, I'm delighted that I was able to survive it.
Neither Joe nor his comrades ever receive official recognition for their bravery. But fortunately for Joe and the Black Watch, they are not ordered to renew an attack on Speicher. Instead, the Allies catch a break. Further up the coast, the Germans flee from the Belgian city of Antwerp and leave the huge port undamaged. Finally, the Allies have the port they desperately need, but one of the bloodiest campaigns in Canadian history will have to be fought before they can use it. For the Allies, the capture of the massive port city of Antwerp should have been a great victory. However, the Germans fortify both sides of the Scheldt estuary, denying access to the newly acquired harbor. For Antwerp to be opened, the Scheldt would have to be taken. The first attacks by Canadian troops are in the southern flank of the Scheldt, along the Leopold Canal, in an area known as the Breskens Pocket. On September 13, 1944, the Algonquin Regiment of 4th Division attempts the first crossing at this spot on the Leopold Canal. The brief but fierce firefight ends with the Algonquins losing 134 men and their foothold across the canal. The first attack is a deadly harbinger of the attritional struggle to come, a struggle that the people of the area have never forgotten. Here, the Canadian soldier has a higher chance of dying in combat than in the killing fields of Flanders during the First World War. It will take 3 weeks before the Canadians can attempt a second crossing of the Leopold during Operation Switchback. This time, units from 7th Brigade take the lead.
We had the job of crossing the canal. We were told that the troops were disorganized and low caliber troops. The initial crossing was by flamethrower. The Germans were on the far side of the Leopold Canal, and it was hard to get at them with anything except the flamethrower.
Even with the help of flamethrowers, the Can Scots and 7th Brigade come up against stiff German opposition.
And these inexperienced, disorganized troops turned out to be first-class troops, including a group of paratroopers who fought well and were really outnumbered us.
Jack Gallagher is on leave during the initial attack, but arrives at Canadian lines on the second day of battle. His company digs in on the opposite bank of the Leopold. Casualties are heavy, and Jack is the senior officer left.
So I took over. I was supposed to be taking over a 120-man company, but my 120-man company was 32 or thereabouts. And I had just set up my platoon headquarters when a grenade came rolling down, and then another, and then one rolled into the trench. I don't know what I did, but I launched straight up, I think. And it blew up at the bottom of my trench. And this went on for quite a long time. Now, fortunately, we had a fair quantity of grenades. And so they, to quote one of the fellows who rode home, that we played anti-eye over with grenades. Their supply of grenades ran out or load before ours, so we weren't so bothered by them.
Later that day, Jack is ordered to push his men over the dike to expand and consolidate a tiny bridgehead 100 meters into German territory.
We couldn't get artillery because they were only a few feet from us. They were on one side of the dike and we were on the other. So I had everybody lined up near the top of the dike. And when I blew a whistle, everybody pulled out a pin. When I blew the whistle the second time, they threw it. And so this barrage of grenades went through. As soon as that was over, the order was that they would all produce another grenade. We went through the same thing. And then after the second barrage, they went over the top, and we took a lot of prisoners. And if the Germans had known how badly they outnumbered us on the other side, they could have pushed us right into the canal. But they didn't, and we that attack succeeded. They consolidated a few hundred yards beyond. We did manage then to establish a pretty firm bridgehead over the Leopold, and we had to hold it while these guys built the bridge.